Obesity is a major risk factor for type 2 diabetes, and we have a major problem worldwide, but particularly here in Alabama, since Alabama falls into the obesity and diabetes belt. Type 2 is caused actually by two things. One is insulin resistance, which is often caused by obesity, and dysfunction and loss of pancreatic beta cell mass. And so because of that, it's actually not surprising that even though a lot of patients with diabetes will be obese, not everyone with obesity will develop diabetes, because it does require the additional problem with the beta cells that produce insulin. Type 2 diabetes is based on two major problems: the insulin resistance, partially caused by the obesity, as well as dysfunction and loss of beta cells. And even though we know those factors, we don't know what actually contributes to these processes. And so one area that we are focusing on is on beta cell biology, to figure out what are the causes that make those beta cells fail and unable to compensate for the insulin resistance. What we know now is that as long as there's enough beta cell function, there is no diabetes in terms of type 2 diabetes, because the beta cells will just be able to compensate for any type of insulin resistance that occurs in the body. So it is very critical to find factors that can prevent cell death, beta cell death, and make beta cells function better even in the face of obesity. I think we're making some major breakthroughs that are very promising, and for the first time I'm able to find targets that actually change our view on how to promote beta cell survival and function. And so I think with that we are much more confident that we'll be able to achieve those goals down the road. We did discover a protein that is causing beta cell death, and it's very strongly upregulated in obesity and diabetes, so we think it does play a major role in obesity-induced type 2 diabetes. And the interesting thing now is that we are able to, or we were able to demonstrate that when we knock out this protein either genetically or pharmacologically, we can rescue mice from diabetes. And we can do so even in the face of very severe obesity. So that gives us kind of hope that we'll be able to do the same thing in humans. And now we found most recently that this protein not only regulates beta cell survival, but also beta cell function. So it inhibits insulin production. So when we inhibit the protein, we get increased insulin production. So both it affects beta cell life and death, as well as insulin production and its major function. So now another major focus here at UAB, and we're again lucky to have the collaborators to do so, is to find specific inhibitors for this protein, small molecules that ideally could be given orally and could inhibit expression of this protein, and by that promote beta cell survival and function. And so by doing so, we actually are working on a very novel approach for diabetes that is not just enhancing insulin secretion, as some of the current drugs, or inhibiting insulin resistance, but rather affecting beta cells per se.